This is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are continuing my Ireland vacation pages, and we're going to do the new fourth quarter beginner project recipe. This is a beginner, intermediate, experienced layout, as much as I can create one of those. And I have done some things to kind of tweak it up and make it more than what you find in the actual beginner project recipe. So I hope this is one that will be helpful to you. I hope it's one you'll enjoy. And these are pictures of our initial outing in Kinsale. Kinsale is where we stopped for our second, it was our second hotel that we were in, and we were there for a couple of evenings and a couple nights. And it was a very, very cute little town, which you will notice in these pictures. The next couple of layouts will be all about this cute little fishing village. So I hope it's something that you'll enjoy and tune in for. Let's check out my workspace and we'll get started. All right, so this is a layout that I will talk to you more about in the quick lesson we're having in the 101.5 on Monday. So I'm just going to go ahead and flip past that, and we are going to work on this layout that that I kind of have gotten started on. Originally, I was going to wait and do the beginner project recipe for quarter 4 later. It just barely came out, but I decided that it fit actually really well with the photos that I wanted to use for today, and I just decided I was going to go ahead and use it. So this is a BIE, somewhat of a BIE layout for you today. It is, when I say BIE, if you're not familiar with that term on my channel, it refers to beginner, intermediate, and experienced. And so the beginner project recipes typically are going to be very simplified. They're going to use one sheet of designer paper that's double-sided and not a lot beyond that, if they can help it, or at least that's what I've seen so far in the beginner project recipes. And they are really, really great for those of you who are just starting out. So I will show you how to put it together using exactly this project recipe, and then I will show you what I'm going to do to jazz it up. And most of what I'm going to do to jazz it up today is going to come from other products that go along with the collection that the paper I've chosen comes from. And that is really the easiest way to take your scrapbooking to the next level, is to utilize the laser borders and the mats and the punches and the stuff that coordinates with the paper that you're using and the theme of your layout. That's what pushes it beyond just being a very basic beginner layout. So it's really up to you how far you want to get into it. And the argument could be made, and I will be the first one to admit, that there are many scrapbookers out there that take things to an even higher level than I do. So I am not trying to say that you can't do even more than what I choose to do. But I have other things to do in my life, so I do as much as I feel is appropriate, and then I move on to the next thing because I have lots happening. So I just don't need to spend quite so many hours tending to one layout. Okay, so that being said, I pulled out Seize Please to use for today, and let me just refresh your memory as to what that collection looks like. This is what it looks like, and it really has a nautical theme, but It has a lot of like a northwestern, or certainly northern, almost Canadian kind of vibe, because many of the papers have icebergs or ships or bears or moose or things like that on them. And so that's not going to really work for what I'm doing. But this village that we, the hotel we stayed in, and the village that the hotel was located in, was very, very obviously right on the ocean. And so I wanted something that would kind of reflect that. So you might then be wondering why I chose to use the plaid. The plaid paper, the back of the plaid paper is a wood grain. And so it's all of the other papers in this collection, the one side or the other was not what I would have wanted to use in this album for this type of layout. So I went with the plaid because it works with the theme that I'm going with, and it just made sense. Okay, so I'm going to set a couple of these things aside. We'll talk about them later. So again, beginner project recipe. Now, one of the things that I have done to make this work for my photos, you can see that this layout actually should be more like this. These pictures would be here, this picture would be here, and these would be flip-flopped as well. So like this. Okay, like this, like this, like this, and then this one's going to get cut down. And it's not exactly, but it's close. That's kind of what this layout called for. But because of the nature of the type of photos I have and the fact that I'm telling a story with my pages, I don't want my photos to lay out like this. It doesn't make sense to me. So I'm going to flip this layout, and I'm going to put the right page on the left and the left page on the right. And, well, I did need to do that because this is the one that's the page before it. Okay, so let me get my photos back right, and then I will explain to you why I am doing it that way. Essentially what I'm doing is, if you can tell without looking at this one because it needs to be cut down, I've got my two horizontal photos here that show us the ocean. This is the very looking out from our hotel room to the harbor. This mast right here is right next to this anchor, and it's right here. This mast is this mast right here that you can see in the clouds, the galleon mast. Okay, and there's a story behind that, which is why this is here. This was our first adventure, really, beyond just getting Emily back into the bus after her accident. And so that's why this picture needs to go first, because she was, we didn't have crutches for her. We only had the wheelchair. And so, and we went in pursuit of seeing the town and possibly finding some dinner, which is what we ended up getting here at Dino's, which was really, really yummy. But anyway, so we're going to use one piece of paper, and you can see that from the cutting guide for the project recipe. One piece of paper, you're going to flip these two pieces over and use the opposite side of the paper, and this one you're going to use as is. So you just basically need to decide which paper you want to be vertical and which one you want to be horizontal. Now, a plaid can go any direction, so I don't really need to worry about that one as much, but the wood grain I would like to be straight up and down. So I'm going to cut it so that the wood grain is this piece right here, the vertical piece, And then the remainder of the page I can separate and use as the background in these two chunks. And it really doesn't matter how it is arranged because the plaid can go any direction. Okay, so let me grab my 12-inch trimmer. I'm going to need that guillotine trimmer as well because we're going to need to trim a couple of these photos down. But for right now, we're just going to use the 12-inch trimmer. You can see from the cutting guide we are meant to cut 5 inches off, and that 5 inches is going to go underneath these photos right here. They're 4 inches wide, so you'll get a 1/2 inch on either side of these photos by cutting a 5-inch piece. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go with that. I did consider the possibility of cutting my paper differently even to accommodate the fact that I am dealing with an enlargement on one side, and I don't know. I just eventually decided it's fine. I'm going to just use this the way that it is written, and I will trim my photos the best I can to accommodate what I need to accommodate. All right, so we're going to take this remaining 7-inch piece, we're going to turn it horizontally, and we're going to cut another 5 inches so that we have one piece that is 7 by 5 and one piece that is 7 by 7. Okay, so we're just going to line it up here at the 5-inch mark and cut. And then these two pieces will be flipped over, and we'll go, this one will go over here and this one will go over here. Okay. So grabbing my guillotine trimmer, this photo is meant to go right here, which they have it as a 2.5 by 2.5 inch photo. So I need to decide which part of the of these tall ships, which part of this do I want? I think it's this end where I can see some other ships moored out in the bay a little bit better. So we're going to come at this from I'm going to make it slightly bigger. I think I want it to be a little bit bigger, not be kept to 2.5 inches. A 2.5 inch square picture is really pretty small, so I think actually I'm going to do a 3 inch, and then if we want to I can cut it down, but for right now I think I'm going to go with 3 inches. And then, like I said, I can trim it down if I want to. I don't need all the road that's in front of it, but I also don't need all the sky here either, so I think I'm going to go ahead and trim it just a little bit into the road and then turn it, and we'll cut it at 3 inches from there. Okay, so there's my square photo, and because I'm not terribly worried about using the specific mat that they were recommending here, I can create whatever kind of mat I want. So that's not a big deal. Hang on one second, let me get this put away. Actually, before I put this away, let's check and see if there's anything else that we need to trim up. So I think maybe I'm going to cut this photo just a little bit because we don't need really all of that grass. I'd like as much of it as we can, but we don't need all of it. So we're going to trim this down and make it a 5 by 4. And that will go there because I think that will work better. And these two I think are good on their own, unless I might want to make that a little bit more narrow. So let's see. It would normally have been 8 inches worth of photo, and this is already 5 inches. So if we cut this down to 3, we would still have the same parameters as the layout, and we're not losing anything by doing that because you can still see that the sky was gray. So there's no change in that. So I think we'll do that because that will keep the parameters of it that way the same. All right, and then these two over here are essentially these two right here, and you can see one is a 4x4 and one's a 4x6. I'm not going to trim this one down because I want that whole mast in the photo, but I can trim this one down a little bit at least. I don't want to lose this photo down here because that's part of the story of where the mast came from. So, but I can take off this top part. I don't know that I really want to, though, is the thing. Well, let's see. I'm going to take the dark part of it off so we don't have that. And I can trim this up just a little bit. Maybe that will be enough to just take the street out of this one and the dark part out of the other, and then they will fit on here with a little bit of a border, and that'll be fine. I think I'm going to go with that. All right. Let's see if we can make this happen with it like that. All right. So let's go ahead and put these pieces on just the way they are, okay? So we can see what we're working with. And so I'm going to grab my permanent adhesive. We're going to add permanent adhesive down the side, both of the long sides of this, and maybe just a tiny bit on the edge. Okay, and we're going to put this right up along the inside edge of the jeeping. Okay, so like that. And then I'm going to adhere my photos with repositionable adhesive because given that I'm showing you some different options for different ways we can do this, we may be moving this around just a little. So I don't want to tear anything if I have to pick these up and move them. All right, so we'll go with that for now. Okay, we're going to go ahead and adhere the plaid paper. And this is going to be centered right here. So it helps that I have photos that are roughly the same size, because I should be able to use that to visually show where the middle is. Or I can measure it. I can actually put it on my mat that I'm working on and determine 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's the middle. So the middle is actually more in line with the top of the lower photo. And right now it looks like I've got almost 2.5 there and not quite 2.5 here. So I need to adjust this and move it down just a skosh. So we're gonna just sort of pick it up, move it down to the point where it's more like 2 1/4 inches on either side. Right? Because, and that would make sense. If this is 7 inches, that gives me 5 inches. Half of 5 is 2 1/2. So now it's too low, I think. Let's get a ruler. Why not? We've got one. Oh, that's actually really close to 2 1/2. And that is actually a little over. So we're going to go here. I'm going to measure 2 1/2. That's going to show me exactly where I need to put it so that it's right in the middle. There, that will make my husband happy because I measured. All right, so that one is good to go. And this photo is going to go in here, just centered in the middle, best I can. Okay, all right, so that one's good to go. Then we're going to come over here and add this piece. This piece is square, so even if we get confused and turn it somehow, it's not going to be a big deal because it's square. The only big deal here is that we want it to be at the same height as this. So I'm going to do this, use the same trick as we did over here, and I'm going to find, if my tummy can get out of the way, I'm going to find the 2 1/2 mark and then go ahead and place that up against the jeeping and up against the edge of the ruler, and then that's in the same spot as this one. All right, so that works. Okay, now this is 7 inches long, or it's supposed to be. Looks like the photo is actually a little bit short. So that's interesting. It's always interesting to me when the measurements of the photos that we are using are not accurate when we get them back from the printer. Happens more than I think most people realize. So, but it actually helps me in this particular instance because I don't really want the paper to be exactly as wide as the photo. So this works. All right, so we can see that it sticks down below by about 1/2 inch. So I'm going to stay with that and center it on my paper and have it stick out about 1/2 inch at the bottom. It's a generous half an inch, but that's okay. And then we're going to put this 4x6 photo that we cut down to 4x3. This one's going to go at the top with about 1/8 of an inch in between and centered on the right and the left. Okay, so like that. And then this one has no, it's this photo right here, and there is no mat for it. It's just even with the top of the paper. And then this one has a mat around it, and we're going to create a mat for it from a mat in the collection, a prefabricated mat. You could use some extra paper if you have extra paper, but I have extra mats, so I'm using a mat. So let's see. This is a 3-inch photo, so if I can make this a 3.5-inch mat, that would be awesome. Let's see if I can do that without making it look funky. So it's almost, it does get a little bit of that white. And that's my fault because I didn't hold it down. There. Oh, we still have a little bit of the white. So we're going to go back 1/16 of an inch and just trim it off. Okay, then to get 3.5 inches, nope, it's just going to end up being a 4-inch. A 4-inch mat. Unless we want to use the green behind it, but I think I want to stay with the blue. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. And this is a bit of a cheating method, so just bear with me here a second. So I'm going to center this photo on this mat so that I have roughly 1/4 of an inch of mat on the top, the bottom, and the left-hand side. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to cut a little bit beyond where the photo is going to sit. Then I'm going to add adhesive to the back of the mat, and I'm going to slide the mat in so that the white part is covered, and I have the mat at the parameter that I want it. It's actually a little wide, but it'll be okay. Let's see. No, it'll be okay. I'm just going to leave it that way. Okay, so now we have a cute little mat for that photo. Okay. And that's going to go in here. Maybe a little closer. There. We'll put it there for right now. Okay, so that is the beginner project recipe, sans some embellishments. So we would put some embellishments in here, we would put some embellishments here, and we would probably add, I would probably add mine to up here because there's just, or possibly right here, but not with this photo like they have. Okay, so that is your beginner project recipe. Let me move this down. Okay, so to kick this up another notch and make it a little bit more of what I would want in my layout, I chose a laser border that's going to go right here. And in order to make this, because this laser border is kind of wide and it doesn't have holes, so we're not going to see through it, I'm going to come in here and lift this up and move it out so that I can maintain a little bit more of a little more space. And I don't have to play with this photo as much. Okay, so we're gonna just move it out about 3/8 to 1/2 of an inch. We're gonna add adhesive to this border. This border has a small curve to it. So I have the curve kind of facing outward, and I'm just making sure that I can't see, so I can see the corner of my photo at the top here just a little. So what I might want to do is just scoot this down just the teeniest bit, because really no one's gonna notice. So, well, you guys will notice because you're hearing me tell you that that's what I'm gonna do, but I'm just gonna move it so that it's covered. Come on, stay under there, so that it's less noticeable. Let me make sure it's still straight. I think that looks good. All right. So we're going to put that down, push those corners down all as well. Okay, so we've got that. Now I also have, I think I said that I wasn't going to mess with this photo, but I'm now going to rescind that and take that back, because I have this mat that I'm going to add underneath it. Now I know it's on top of the plaid, so let's see if I still want to do that. And sometimes it's hard to tell what you want to do when you're planning your layout, and then when you get to it, you're kind of like, that doesn't really work the way I was hoping it was going to work. So this would go in here, and I like the green accent. I like bringing the green more onto this page, but we lose all of the plaid underneath it if we do that. So we could bring the photo down a little bit, or up a little bit. I think up probably, since we've got this down over here. I'm going to think about that. We're going to leave that there for just a little bit. All right. The other thing that I was going to do, I had these other mats here that we could have used here. So, but I think the light blue here kind of picks up the light blue in this photo. So I'm gonna, and the grays. So I'm just gonna kind of leave that there for right now and table these for just a little bit. All right, I have another decorative frame that's also part of the Seas Please collection, if you have that. And this one I had intended to use on this photo right here. But this photo, you'll remember, I cut. So we could do the same thing we did with this one and get creative with it. Move. I need my adhesive more on the very edge of my photo. Okay, then I can place this closer. Like that. Now it'll be a little bit trickier since this frame has that edge down there. I wonder if I could get away with not worrying about it and just placing this in here anyway. I could actually cover that with an embellishment and no one would probably notice that that's different. I like it because it carries this blue over here while this green brings the greens that are in these photos over to this page. Balancing our colors, which is a good thing. So I think I'm going to go with that, and then we'll figure out something that we can add in there to embellish. All right, so let's go ahead and adhere this. Look at that pretty turquoise on the back. Woo-hoo-hoo. Fancy, fancy. I like it. Doesn't really match my colors, but I do like it. Okay, so we're gonna just bring this down. And so this is a little bit higher than, so this photo is a little higher than it was intended to be, but I think it will be just fine. All right, so we've got that, we've got that. Okay, now, as far as embellishing goes, I did pull 2 more laser borders from the collection and was just playing around with kind of weaving them in and out of each other. This driftwood and this kind of moss looking piece. And I thought, well, maybe I could just kind of cut this and have it sort of draped in different places, which may seem kind of weird, but I don't want to use the whole thing, but a piece of it I think would be appropriate. Okay, so I'm going to grab my scissors, and this one I'm going to cut, I think, right here. And I'm not going to cut it, I don't really want to cut it, just blunt cut it. I want to sort of make it look like it was meant to be that way. I meant to do that, right? All right, so something like that. Let's go ahead and add some adhesive to the back of these. And I think, I don't really, if I just did like that, is that going to look right? I think it will blend in, which is actually probably for the best to have that just sort of not draw a whole lot of attention and just sort of detract from the hole in that frame right there. Where else could we use this? Hang on, let's see. I think just a little bit right here would be good. all the little tiny pieces of the moss keep catching on things. So kind of do like that. We can do let's see, this one I don't want to go under. Maybe in back like that. All right, let's see. I think I'm not sure about that end, but I think I could tuck it kind of underneath there and put that right there. What are we thinking? I could add a little bit more maybe right here in this sort of open space, but I don't know if I need to. Maybe I'll just save this for another time. All right, so I think that is what I will offer you for my beginner, my intermediate, adding the frames, and then using your laser borders to add them as embellishments, you know, brings it up to that even more, even higher level. And any of these open spaces in here could be used for your journaling, to tell the story of what's going on the page and why we did this way. We could add some flowers. If I have some small flowers I could add to the greenery here and there, that would brighten this up and bring in maybe a little bit of this lavender that's here. I think that would be pretty. I don't know of any that I have just offhand, but I could even go in with just a dot pen and add a couple of little clusters of lavender flowers to the green, maybe. I think that would probably be what I would recommend. All right, well, I think this is all I'm going to do for this layout today. You'll have to check in the flip through to see where the journaling ends up and if anything else changes on this page. But I feel good about leaving it like this, and yeah, I like it. I think it's turned out well. Let me know what you think in the comments, or if you would have done anything differently. I'm always curious to get ideas from all of you, so let me know what you think. But I think this is going to be our beginner project recipe, beginner, intermediate, and experienced. And again, there are those out there that would carry it even farther than what I've done, but I don't feel like I need to, especially in this particular case. So, but I might come up with something later. Who knows? I don't think I will. Anyway, until next time, I hope you have many more creative moments. Thanks for joining me. Make it a great day.